What exactly is going on when it comes to all the wildfires that we have been witnessing over the past few years? Is there really something going on? Especially the wildfires we witnessed just within the past year, from California all the way up to Canada, and then the tragedy that struck Lahaina, Hawaii. A tragedy that, again, many people were speculating, which is now being called conspiracy, as to how they actually did ignite. Are they at all related? Is there an agenda behind all this, as some people believe? And even more importantly, how is this connected to future wildfires? Can we actually pinpoint areas of targets? If you go back to my past predictions, it was only just a few months prior to the Lahaina tragedy that Spirit told us that there was going to be an attack on Hawaii. And I actually had visions of it coming from the sky, from either a drone or a satellite. Complete visions and descriptions of what was coming for Hawaii. And 2 months later, or less than 2 months later, that vision became a reality. But was that really an attack, like Spirit said? And if not, then what attack could be coming in the future? After the Lahaina fire, Spirit told us that we were going to witness more. And then also in past predictions, Spirit told us that places like Texas and a few other states were what Spirit called targeted states. What does that mean exactly? Hawaii was on that list as well. Alaska's on that list. And there's others on that list that I'm going to share with you today. Perhaps we can actually pinpoint an exact area, which I believe I have, and which will be hit in the future, in the same way that Lahaina, Chile, and even Texas were hit. If they're all connected. Again, I'm going to present the information to you, and it is up to you to use your own intuition, your own judgments, and come to your own conclusions. This is not meant to bring to a conclusion any specific conclusions. It's just different information put together for you, again, so you can analyze. Most importantly out of all that, besides what's going to be hit in the future, is the big event that I've been feeling, and many others, many remote viewers, and all of our information apparently is linked together to this big, huge event. Could that big, huge event be connected to the information I'm going to present to you today? Well, you check it out for yourself. This is Wildfires, past, present, and future. Some are saying that direct energy weapons are being deployed to spark the largest fire in Texas history, and we know these weapons do exist.
This newly released footage shows the Dragonfire laser directed energy weapon system in action, and it could be in the hands of military personnel in 5 years' time. It destroys targets with an intense beam of light and has pinpoint accuracy. It's able to hit something the size of a £1 coin from a kilometer away.
The fires we have seen in recent years, including the fires in Texas, are very different from what we have seen in the past. They often selectively spare the trees while burning the infrastructure into a powdery ash footprint.
I have witnessed and observed some extraordinary damage in our state. Could be caused by hurricanes or tornadoes, and frequently when you see the aftermath of that damage, there's some semblance of a structure that is still there. When you look at the damages that have occurred here, it's just gone. Completely gone. Nothing left but ashes on the ground.
After the Maui fires, many people believed that a blue roof was able to deflect the directed energy weapons and spare their home from destruction. And even Joe Biden recently alluded to this twice.
If you fly over these areas that are burned to the ground, you'll see in the midst of 20 homes that are just totally destroyed, one home sitting there because it had the right roof on it. And anyway, by the way, if you notice you fly over in the helicopter, those places with good roofs, they didn't burn.
It's the right materials.
Yeah. So we got to change that. Anyway.
Biden is clearly not a reliable source of accurate information, but why would a roof save a house from burning? And while there is plenty of circumstantial evidence to suggest directed energy weapons are being used to start recent fires, some have been arrested for starting them the old-fashioned way, and there is a clear motive. The United Nations, who have been orchestrating the open border policy for America and several other countries, have openly announced plans to clear the lands of people and move them into smart cities. Starting with Agenda 21, a map which shows designated off-limits to human areas lined up with the 2008 California fires. 9 years ago, planning was announced for smart cities to be built on Maui. But the most coveted property was owned by natives whose families lived there for many generations. Prior to Hawaii being annexed by the United States in August of 2023, Maui was devastated by highly suspicious fires. Roads were blocked off to keep residents from escaping, and the U.S. government gave survivors a mere $700 per household. A conference in April of 2023 met in Vina del Mar, Chile, to provide the municipality with the support and the transfer of knowledge about the theory and solutions of smart cities. A year later, Vina del Mar was ravaged by fires. It was blamed on climate change, but local officials claimed it was arson. And in 2022, Amarillo, Texas was reported to be the #1 area under the radar for the Texas housing market under the United Nations Vision 2045. On February 26th of this year, the biggest fire of Texas broke out in the same area. Vision 2045 is the latest iteration of United Nations plan to seize control of 90% of the land and limit the people to 15-minute cities.
I'd like to think that change happens in manageable ways. It doesn't happen like that. It happens in punctuated equilibria, where we have periods of stability and then periods of massive, radical, disruptive and transformative change. And that is where we are right now.
This is the decisive decade in the history of humanity. We who are here now have a responsibility that no future generations will have.
Directed energy weapons, also known as DEWs, are weapons that deploy a highly focused energy beam, including lasers, microwaves, and particle beams. After decades of research in the United States, defense contractors announced back in 2015 that these systems are expected to come online by 2020 and are currently announcing that they are ready to deploy in the field. Russia, China, India, and the UK are developing directed energy weapons as well. And Iran has had them in use since at least 2013. In 2019, Turkey was the first to officially deploy this technology in combat when they claimed to have shot down a Chinese-made drone supplied by the Libyan National Army. On September 16th, Defense Secretary Mark Esper announced that China and Russia already weaponized satellites with directed energy weapons.
Meanwhile, in space, Moscow and Beijing have turned a once peaceful arena into a warfighting domain. They have weaponized space through killer satellites, directed energy weapons, and more in an effort to exploit our systems and chip away at our military advantage.
And for the past few years, many have wondered if these advanced weapons systems have anything to do with the unprecedented fires that we have been seeing in the past few years. Laser-based weapons are able to destroy the targets with external heat and microwave. Weapons are designed to penetrate the target through external antennas and sensors and ignite the internal electronics, destroying them from the inside out. This could explain how thousands of homes have rapidly burned into their own footprint while the trees surrounding them still survive. And it could explain the several cars we have seen utterly destroyed with temperatures hot enough to liquefy glass and metal. Michael Janich, host of the YouTube Dutch Sense channel, has been researching the Earth's seismic activity for the past 10 years. During the past few weeks, he has discovered satellite imagery that show equal distance spread of fires, all starting within the same 4 hours.
4 hours? We've got ourselves an equal distance spread of fires. Here, 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 and here. So, what could cause an equal distance spread of fires? Well, only two things, Mother Nature or man, right? There's no storm in the area. You can't blame a storm. So what could cause equal distance spaced fires to spread out across, what do you think that is, 1/3 of Idaho?
And he also discovered what looks to be a beam of light that can be seen in the infrared spectrum like a microwave. On September 8th, the beam of light can be seen directed to the Dolan Fire of California. The beam appears to excite the heat signature of the fire as it is held on target for over 2 hours.
Right before dawn, watch that. This is yesterday, going into this morning. This is in California, the beam coming from space up above Oregon, or somewhere in between this and Oregon. And as it's going through, see how it excites? As the beam is spreading, look how it excites. It's no doubt about it. And the beam spreads first. Look, beam spreads first. It goes from a tiny, little, tight beam to a wide beam. Then the fire spreads to a wide fire.
The next day, a beam of light is seen directed at and exciting the heat signature of the Holiday Farm fire in Oregon for over an hour.
Here it is now, and it's 2 of them. And it's only going to one fire, a different fire. And it's moving. Okay, it's moving. There's clouds going through it, which rules out it being an artifact. The clouds are passing through and interfering with the beam.
Meanwhile, in space, Moscow and Beijing have turned a once peaceful arena into a warfighting domain. They have weaponized space through killer satellites, directed energy weapons, and more, in an effort to exploit our systems and chip away at our military advantage.
The timing of this public admission is interesting. These weapons of the future are now officially being deployed. Are we currently being attacked by directed energy weapons? And if so, by who? Myself and many others want to know what you think, so please do leave your comment down below. Beautiful friends, beautiful souls, I welcome you to my channel, back to my channel. My name is Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT, and I am so grateful that you took the time to make it through this video today. If you want accurate predictions, prophecy, truth, and content like this, and you want to vibe with the tribe, please do smash that subscribe, hit the bell, followed by all so that you get notifications. Thank you for clicking the like button and showing your love. It takes an enormous amount of time and energy to put this information together for all of you. And I appreciate the little bit of love that you send by clicking that thumbs up button. Down below in the description, you'll find all the links, including the link to my newsletter, which is free. You'll never miss content. You'll get special offers, see what classes I have going on. And at the beginning of every month, we put out the numerology, astrology, and everything for the month. So check it out down below. And a big thank you goes out to all those supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. Whether you're a monthly supporter down below in the community on YT, whether you send contributions through Spotify, Chat Cash, PayPal, and all the other resorts, I couldn't do it without you, and I am forever grateful, especially to be able to put this piece together for you today. Let us move on with wildfires, past, present, and future. And in doing so, the first thing I want to point out to you from the clip that I prepared for you and just showed you is exactly what JB said. Because I had to watch this a few times before I actually realized what he actually really said. Now, we know he talked about the roofs and you know, you heard all that. But what he said at the very, very end of that clip, check it out again.
Yes, and by the way, if you notice you fly over in the helicopter, those places with good roofs, they didn't burn.
It's the right material.
Yeah. So we got to change that. Anyway. Yeah. So we got to change that. Yeah. So we got to change that.
They didn't burn, so we gotta change that? Does he even know what he's saying? Chances are he probably doesn't, but maybe he actually does. They didn't burn, so we gotta change that. Let that sink into your mind for a minute and into your soul for a minute. We gotta change that. We gotta make it so that they can't protect themselves. It's pretty much what it looks like to me. Sounds like, appears like. What do you think? I think that's pretty bizarre and crazy if you ask me. So, going back to predictions and the future of wildfires, they're not all caused by the same, and every fire that starts, people instantly assume that there's a conspiracy revolved around it. which is not always the case. Fires and wildfires have been happening for as long as I can remember. It's just now the frequency of them and the odd coincidences, or not so coincidental, that is revolved around the fires. Certain ones, not all of them. But from Lahaina to what's happening in California, what happened in California, parts of Canada, Chile, and now Texas. Could it at all be linked to what many people believe? That's where they are filing for smart cities. One of the interesting things is, if you recall, going back to Hawaii, not long before the whole Hawaiian thing happened, there were lasers coming from the sky basically mapping out the whole island. That was said to be all different things, including the Chinese satellite that was allegedly just taking weather calculations or what have you. But do you really believe that's true? All the lasers going in, mapping everything out perfectly from the satellite? Again, I got to remind you of my past vision right before Lahaina, where I clearly saw something coming from the sky, like a laser, coming from the sky that was either coming from a satellite or a drone. That's specifically what I said. And Spirit told us Hawaii was going to be attacked. That aligns perfectly with that prediction. Perfectly. So whether you believe it was an attack or whether it was not, could there be another one coming? Is there a coincidence that Zuckerberg suddenly is building his $100 million underground bunker with submarines in Hawaii? And Oprah's house didn't burn and none of the rich people did. It was only the native people, just them, who are still to this day not allowed to go on their own land. Given a whole $700, while other countries are getting billions and billions and billions of dollars from United States. And then all the illegals are getting billions of dollars given to them. They're receiving more money than the people in Lahaina received. Where is the fairness in that? And what is exactly going on? And how could this at all be linked to the big event that's coming? You've heard me talk about it for a couple years now. And some of my predictions take 2 to 3 years to come into fruition. We're in that 2 to 3 year window now. So it's bound to happen within the next year, give or take a few months. And we all feel it. Every person and all of you watching feel intuitively, if not all of you, most of you for sure, feel that something big's coming. I've been feeling this before they flooded our borders, and before everything that's happening now. Now, also going back to the wildfires, remember in my predictions, Spirit said that Texas was a targeted state. So was the state of Hawaii, Alaska, and Florida. So could Alaska be the next big target? It always seems to be right along the water, too. Have you noticed that? That's a big thing with their smart cities. They want them to all be along the water for whatever reason. They're 15-minute smart cities, which are really 15-minute prison systems, because that's exactly what they are if you do your research. They put it right in your face. Just go right directly to the WEF website. Read it. It's creepy. And then from there, go right to the UN's website. They tell you everything and everything that's in their plans, all the way boiling it down to that Agenda 2030. Again, look it up. So where is the next target? Could this at all be connected again to the big event that I've been feeling and remote viewers have been seeing? It was even in my channeled predictions. Well, the big event is going to be something completely different. And I'm going to put together for you a separate video about the big event with my past predictions, remote viewer predictions, and how they all align, and how we can analyze that to what's coming exactly and when it's coming. And remember, I also remind you of that movie that was just put out, Leave the World Behind, produced by the Obamas. And we know that right now, Iran and China have infiltrated our borders, not just in the United States, but in France and other countries as well. That would be more likely connected to the big event that's coming. But again, they still have a weapon system that I showed you in the first clip today. So I want you to look at this second clip, another clip that I put together for you. And I want you to pay very close attention, because once again, I told you they scanned with green lasers Hawaii just within a month before the big fires happened. And they just did that somewhere else, too. I'll show you in this clip. Check it out.
If you fly over these areas that are burned to the ground, you'll see in the midst of 20 homes that are just totally destroyed, one home sitting there because it had the right roof on it. And by the way, if you notice you fly over the helicopter, those places with good roofs, they didn't burn. With the right materials. Yeah.
Joe Biden's recent comments are alarming. The average person isn't supposed to know that the U.S. and Chinese military had been testing field-ready, grounded, space-based DEWs, or directed energy weapons, for at least a decade. Instead, we're supposed to sit down, shut up, and believe it's some space laser conspiracy theory.
Can you tell me why so many people that support Donald Trump love conspiracy theories, including yourself, about Jewish space lasers? Tell us about Jewish space
No,
lasers.
why don't you go talk about Jewish space lasers? And really, why don't you off? How about that?
According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, directed energy weapons can produce a force that ranges from deterrent to damaging to destructive. Many countries, including the United States, are researching their use. Different types of electromagnetic energy have different properties. High-energy lasers produce a very narrow beam of light, usually in the infrared to the visible region, and are typically used on one target at a time. The beam can be pulsed or continuously generating a power output of at least 1 kilowatt. This output is 200,000 times greater than the typical laser pointer and is capable of melting steel.
These things pulse at different frequencies to optimize the damage.
Evidence of a CCP satellite over Maui is known.
There's 3 fires on the Maui Island. The first one that happened was on August 7 on the Olinda fire. That was a big one. And then what happened after that was the Lahaina fire. That was the nasty one that killed those people. And the third one was the Kula fire, which happened after the Lahaina fire. So there's three blasts and 2 satellites, basically. 3 shots and 2 satellites is just too much of a coincidence for it not to be a DEW, basically.
As is the phenomenon of lasers being unable to ignite the color blue.
And also the blue factor, too. I calculate this as a near infrared or near spectrum, and that's why it's not damaging blue colors.
That is overwhelming evidence that should be admissible in a court of law.
In China, the CCP now is just releasing data on their petawatt lasers. They're doing petawatt laser bursts on a laser that fits on a lab table. It's not a very big laser, basically, but when you have lasers of this energy, it's just instant damage. Very, very powerful lasers.
Some extraordinary damage in our state could be caused by hurricanes or tornadoes, and frequently when you see the aftermath of that damage, there's some semblance of a structure that is still there. When you look at the damages that have occurred here, it's just gone. Completely gone.
And as we realize that the government is, at the very least, complicit, what makes you think that they wouldn't use DEWs, supported by lawfare, to drive people off their land? According to population into smart cities in order to quicken United Nations Agenda 2030. Several years back, CEO billionaire Mark Zuckerberg literally sued local natives in Hawaii in order to take over their land so he can hog it all up for himself to in turn build a $100 billion bunker. And then we had, prior to the fires in Hawaii, these lasers coming from a Chinese satellite over Hawaii, as if they were scoping out the land shortly before it was burnt to a crisp.
Not something you see every day.
Oh, geez, it was, it went back and forth. At least, I would say 40 minutes to an hour.
But for people living in Cape Coral, they've been seeing it a lot this week.
It was really late at night. It was kind of around midnight. It was around midnight. I was actually in my car. I was just getting home, and I saw it going back and forth with a laser beam, and it scanned over me multiple times, and it was just moving. It was scanning the whole area, every square footage, basically.
When it came by, you could see the green laser light spread out, like it was mapping. We were told it was mapping the areas, what we were told.
When you put the information Casey provided into the FAA website,
It comes back with this information saying it's registered to Randigo LLC, but it's unclear who or what they're doing.
We just want to know what's going on, why we're being scanned.
Wouldn't a covert satellite-based laser in concert with known weather modification technology capable of wagering land theft and agricultural devastation benefit from the Great Reset greatly by merely hiding behind the climate narrative? So now do our friends in Cape Coral need to paint their roofs blue? And is it even going to help after what JB said? So I gotta change that, says JB. And he did say I have to change that. So is he part of it? Does he even really know what he's saying? Or could he be an underlying part of what's happening with some of the wildfires? He's definitely part of allowing people to come flowing through our borders to set up sleeper cells in our city. That's going to be definitely connected to this big event that's going to come in the future, which again, I will do a separate video on. So do our friends in Cape Coral, Florida need to be concerned? Is painting your roof going to do any good? Did JB change it yet? Are they going to change it? And again, are they even really responsible for all this that's happening? Is it a coincidence that that Chinese satellite flew over Hawaii and did scans of Hawaii prior? Just weeks or a month prior? I don't believe in coincidences, do you? So now that you saw them scanning Cape Coral, Florida, remember what I just said in recent predictions, that Florida would be next. That Florida, not necessarily directly next, there's other countries that are also vulnerable to this happening. We just saw it happen in Chile. Now, in my predictions, I said it was going to happen in Brazil as well. And I'll give you any other information that Spirit gives me to other areas. It means I live in the United States. It does make it easier for me, of course, to pick up intuitively events that are happening related to the country. Just like where I live in Arizona, I often pick up more weather events that are happening locally, like when I lived in Pennsylvania, same thing. So that does have a lot to do with my predictions, of course, being focused around the United States, but I do bring in other countries as well and talk about other countries. So Brazil, of course, along the beaches, because in my visions I saw major fires along the waters. And I've even seen fires along the waters in New Jersey. Not that it's connected at all, but going to my predictions revolved around fires happening. These are places of concern. And no matter where you are, the whole point of predictions is not to be focused on the fear of it. Do not be scared, but be prepared. Know what's happening. Know the potentials of what can happen, no matter where you live. Whether it's a weather-related, climate-related flood, an earthquake, or an attack that happens in our countries. We know it's coming and we all feel it. So be prepared. Spirit's been telling us since 2020 to stock up on food, stock up on water, and have a plan, and to protect you and your family. Spirit's been telling us that for 4 years now. Spirit obviously knows something that we know now as well. A big event's coming. Big events are coming all over the world, no matter where you live. But if you live in the United States and even Canada, hold on tight, because we are the most vulnerable at this point on the time on our planet, because they want to wipe out our freedoms. In turn, wiping out our freedoms gives them the opportunity to wipe out everybody else's freedoms. Just like take away somebody's land, take away their home, and give them no other choice but to go to a specific area, like a 15-minute smart city, for example. Another point that I wanted to bring up is that someone sent me a video clip from a gal on TikTok who was talking about the wildfires and the coincidence, not a coincidence, I'm sure, that she found revolved around wildfires. Some of them, not all of them. What she discovered is that there were drilling points for lithium mines in all the points of the wildfires. Now, I tried to do a little of my own research, trying to figure out where they are drilling specifically for lithium. And being we have this whole push for the electric cars and electric everything, and of course that's a big $1 billion thing to make billionaires richer, make billionaires trillionaires. So I don't know if there's any truth about that. If anybody has any links that can connect us to that information to let us know if there are actually lithium drill points there. Perhaps maybe even Dutch Sense knows. I haven't followed. I don't have time. I'm so busy. I don't have time to watch other people's content. Dutch Sense does put out great stuff, but I haven't watched him in a long time. He doesn't even pop up on my feed other than the information I provided for you today. But that's a good place to look when it comes mainly to earthquakes. But also he's been nailing the wildfires from what you just saw as far as them being connected to things coming from the sky. Just exactly what I saw prior to the Lahaina fires in my visions and predictions. Interesting. Beyond interesting. And again, don't be in fear or worried about this. Don't feel like you have to paint your roof blue. Because remember, JB says he's going to change that. He's going to change that. And I bet you they probably will try to change that. But Spirit says they're not going to be able to. I find it interesting because blue is the color of healing. And use blue candles and burn blue candles for healing ceremonies. So it's interesting that blue is the color of healing, and it's a color that they can't seem to penetrate. I bet you there's no coincidence in that either. If you want to know more about my predictions and past predictions, you got to join me every Tuesday for Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time Predictions Update, where we cover major world events, hot topics, how they may or may not relate to predictions and prophecy, and I give you new predictions each and every Tuesday. So if you want to vibe with the tribe, you got to smash that subscribe, friends. Also, stay tuned because I will have another video connecting my past predictions with the remote viewers' predictions to come to a conclusion of what and perhaps when this big event is going to hit. And I got to tell you, friends, it may hit as soon as April. The eclipse season is going to kick in a whole lot of stuff. A whole lot of stuff. And if you go back to my predictions for the year, I said that April, August, and October would be the biggest months of the year for all events, world events, conflicts, and even the economy. So follow me every Tuesday. Again, I thank all my supporters. I hope you enjoyed this content. It took a lot of time to put it all together for all of you. I'd like to know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to send links, comments, or anything, please always do that in the comments. Please do not send me an email. I get enough emails with business and clients that it overwhelms my email box. And if you want a private session, you want to know about my classes, sign up to the newsletter down below. Follow me on my website, josephtittel.com, Tittel. Or to make it easier, you could just go to spiritmanjt.com. Prayers to all those in the areas that have been ravished by these wildfires. And prayers to all of us, no matter where we are, that we are protected from these in the future. Until the next time, my beautiful friends, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Celebrate life, celebrate you, be kind to others as you wish others be kind to you. And remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Why? Because you're amazing. Go rock out your amazingness. And again, have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. And much love, friends. Much love.